Brenna. It is so great to be here with you.
Hi, Cindy. It's great to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Why don't you start off by telling us about yourself?
Oh, of course. I'm a writer, activist, law student, mom. I have a background in film and TV, and most recently, I got my high conflict divorce coaching certification.
Awesome. So many titles and distinctions. I love this. So, as you were growing up, what was your framework for having both a family and a career? I mean, did you have specific expectations about what your life would be like?
I certainly did, and very different from how it's turned out, which is okay. I come from a lineage of working women. I knew no other way. My mom is actually a pioneer in her field. She's in tech. And when I was a little girl in preschool, my grandmother she won a scholarship to go to France and get her master's degree in French. So I remember an uncle, taking care of me. So there was a big Italian family, a lot of hands, a lot. My aunt was a school teacher. It was maybe a little like old world and communal. So I did not realize what it took to be a working mom when I moved to California away from that center of support I have if I had stayed on the East Coast closer to family.
So, you've already told us that things didn't turn out quite the way that you had planned. What did happen? How did things turn out?
Well, I stayed at home with my son. I had previously not been working. I had a background in film and TV in New York City. I fell in love with a gentleman. We met in acting school in San Francisco. We dated bi-coastally, and I moved onto his beautiful ranch in the South Bay in a town known for garlic. It was culture shock. We made it work as much as we possibly could, and I got to indulge some of my other interests. However, when baby came along, I was already not working and he was a tech executive. So there wasn't really a big decision happening.
Okay, so you're living this I'll call it idyllic mom life. Then what happened? Like what's the next installment of that?
Yeah, there were certainly things I was paying attention to that maybe indicated like all was not right in the relationship or things weren't exactly as I thought they would be or should be. I started finding more clues and paper trails. For instance, there's a significant amount of hidden assets. I learned that my ex did not fully disclose really who he actually was and the resources he had at the beginning of the marriage, which meant that I could have had more support at home while I was being a stay-at-home mother. And of course, I loved being at home with my child, but I'm also a creative person and I have a lot of energy. And, looking back now, that was a huge portion of, my 30s and early 40s, which that's, prime time for your career and your development.
So what do you wish you had known earlier?
I wish I had known to hire a PI earlier, even maybe before the marriage. Why not? I wish I knew or had guidance around acting on some of the red flags. I wish I knew about Dr. Ramani. She has an amazing show on YouTube on narcissistic abuse. She has a book out now and it's really informative. She's on top of this material more than any of the general, mental health care practitioners. But the PI was really key. And I think for me, regardless of the outcome, there has been so much validation and knowing that my gut was always giving me the information. Um, and we get ourselves into these twisted little pretzels and we talk ourselves out of it because we don't want to believe certain things. But I do know now, looking back on a long-term marriage, that my gut was always correct.
Ooh, so important. So, what advice do you have specifically for women considering a divorce?
Well, definitely have those consultations with lawyers. Start building your team. Know who your people are. Who can you talk to? Who can you trust? Who can you rely on? Um, Hire a coach. They are now recommended by the American Bar Association. A divorce coach can help save tons of money and stress and time. It's a really, really vulnerable period. And it's an $80 billion industry in the United States alone, which is shocking. Um, know your finances. And, I felt really silly. This was something I let go of. My mother was the breadwinner in our home, and we had the nice upper middle class lifestyle I enjoyed because of my mother's work and her grasp on our financial life. I, unfortunately, as a stay-at-home mom, let go of that. However, I interact with women on a regular basis who were always in the workforce and even have MBAs. And that was just something that the spouse took over. So know your finances, protect yourself and your kids. Don't let the kids be used as a pawn in the divorce should things, progress and go in that direction. That's a sad reality in this industry that we see all the time. The children are truly being used as pawns, and the child custody and the caregiver situation really shouldn't drastically change from the way it was during the marriage. And I would say last, but very important because this can truly be a marathon and not a sprint. I've been in it for 6 years, which is crazy, but it happens. Self-care, and that always sounded a little silly to me, but we have to take care of ourselves. And whatever that looks like for you, my yoga practice, my Reiki healers, that energy work, alternative therapies, really more than traditional therapy, have been crucial for me to survive. And lastly, an optimistic outlook, I think, really gets us through.
Wow, all of those are fabulous, fabulous advice. That's great. What about for women who've been primary caregivers and are wanting to make a pivot? What advice do you have for them?
Well, it can be similar to women contemplating divorce when we talk about self-care. But obviously it's a reinvention is a very exciting and positive time of life. And I, fortunately, through my divorce, was able to reconnect to passions and things I really cared about from early on. And I got into law school and am working towards my law degree. I would say reconnect with earlier passions, take classes, find new passions, discover things about yourself, hire a career coach. That was one of the best things I ever did. Be gentle with yourself along the way and, prepare your family, kids, a spouse. Be sure to keep them in the loop and they will be inspired by you and think it is so cool to see what mom is doing and going through.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I am so grateful for your willingness to chat today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy, and thank you for the opportunity. And I love the work that you're doing at the Liftery. It's really incredible.